up, people? This is DaveDaGamer for TrueGameHeadz.com, and this is what's on my thoughts. It's been a minute since I did one of these review joints up in my living room, and as you can see, I done got a bigger TV, new 46-inch Sharp, big ups to them. And looking at the TV, as you can see, I got the PS3 running with Killzone 2, and it had me thinking about all these websites and these fanboys talking about game graphics. And actually, I was just checking out the Hip Hop Gamer Show, big shout out to him, March 8th version, and he was talking about, you know, the graphics from one system versus another, and Killzone being better than Gears of War 2, and he kind of gave a shout out to this site called LensOfTruth.com, who had like a comparison video, and I watched it, and to me, I think they left out something that's called context when they talking about one game versus another. It's like when you talk about rappers, who's better, Jay-Z or Nas or Biggie even. How can you quantify that? You really can't. It's all personal preference. But then even when you're thinking about games, you're thinking about the art, you're not taking into the fact that there's artists behind these games. Everything you've seen was drawn or rendered by a 3D artist for a different studio, you know what I'm saying? And then when you talk about things like frame rate and slowdown and chugging, it's not necessarily always the hardware that's behind it, because actually a programmer has to program the game to make you see what you are seeing. And people never take that into account when they're like, oh snap, the graphics on this is whack, or oh, it's only running at 30 frames per second, this and that, blah, blah. They think it's easy. They think just because it's there, it's a box that, you know, you put the game in and it works, but it's not. These games take years to build, and that's one of the things I wanted to kind of touch on, because, you know, Killzone 2, as fat as it is, PS3 is finally kicking into its next gear. Killzone 2 is probably like 4 or 5 years in the making, you know what I mean? It's like they sat on this game, they refined their engine, and they made it as best as they could, and now you've seen the beauty of its works, which is like, you know, we all saw the E3 footage of that trailer back in the day. They set the ball way up here for themselves, even when they wasn't trying to. They were just saying like, this is our vision for what Killzone is gonna be, but then all the fanboys and the gamers is like, nah, when it comes out, if it doesn't look like this, then it's whack. Like, how can you say that? You know what I mean? They overly impressed, and you can't say there's any real flaws in this game graphically, but to sit there and say, okay, well, all right, this is a game that couldn't be done on the Xbox, or this is a game that, you know, is like so far better than any other FPS out there, that's really like a one-sided statement. It's also a loaded statement, because I could easily just say that, yo, you know, a game like Gears of War 2, which had all of this craziness going on and the cutscenes and all of that entertained me more than Killzone. And I'm not even gonna talk about that, because I like Killzone, I enjoyed it. But then, you know, a lot of people say things like limitations with like the Blu-ray versus having things on a DVD. Now, the Blu-ray issue has been bugging me for a minute, because when Sony first came on with the PS3, and you know, they was going up against HD DVD, so not only were they fighting the game consoles, they were fighting like the movie industry, because the movie industry said, hey, we're gonna go to HD DVD because it's cheaper, blah, blah, blah. Sony was like, nah, here's this Blu-ray joint and it's better. It's gonna be like true HD, the realest of the real, and you know, it's just better. And they filled up everybody's heads with saying, oh, HD is Blu-ray. HD wasn't necessarily Blu-ray, you know what I'm saying? Because HD DVD and Blu-ray, the picture quality on both was the same. And then at the end of the day, what separated some videos from another was the compression rates. And the compression comes from the companies, not the format. It doesn't matter what format it was on. It mattered about the compression and the clarity of the picture. But that's a whole nother argument. Let's talk about now where they're like, all right, a game like Tekken 6, which Hip Hop Gamer also mentioned about, and I'm not knocking him, I'm just trying to point out the points that he's making and trying to get like the larger audience to like kind of think for a minute. So, you know, you have this developer saying, oh, the stuff that I'm trying to do for Tekken 6, you know, I'm having problems fitting it on a DVD. You know, that's all like, you know, the mind of the developer saying, this is the thing that I wanted to do. Kojima said, you know, the things he wanted to do with Metal Gear couldn't fit on Blu-ray. You know what I mean? So it's like, the more space you give cats, the more they want to take advantage of, the more things they want to pack in. So at the end of the day, it's really not how big the format is. You know, if it's a regular game, change the disc. Wow, are you that lazy that you can't get up off the couch and put another disc in? You know, it's kind of like, a reward too. You probably take a break because you've been playing the game so long. But at the end of the day, you know, when you look at it, a lot of arguments are made through false claims of like superiority. So for instance, all right, so say for instance Killzone 2 was also phenomenal and the graphics was this and the graphics was that, but at the same time it's on Blu-ray, so every time you go into a new section there's like a hiccup in the game. So it's not like a seamless, I'm going from one section to another. It's literally I'm walking and it pauses for like a second or two, sometimes three depending on what's going on in the area, and then boom, it keeps moving. Why does that happen? Oh, does that mean PS3 sucks now? No, it means that there's so much information trying to be loaded and read off the Blu-ray disc that, you know, developers had to get it in there somehow. And they felt that this was an acceptable thing to ship with. Now, I know there's people that's gonna be saying, oh, why does that happen? Oh, the game sucks, oh, it's whack. But that really doesn't bother. It hits hiccups for a second, like every 20 minutes, 30 minutes as you're going through a stage. Wow, big whoop. That's like, you know, the stage has to load. We've been loading games forever now, so it's like a 1-2 second wait is really not a problem. It's not an issue. If you want to talk about like problems I had with Killzone, because I just finished it yesterday, was that it was kind of short. But it was short but sweet, because that last level that you had to beat, it was like one of the most hectic environments that you've ever been in a game. They had hundreds of enemies coming at you in waves and explosions and things going on that really put you in, like the closest I can even think about is like Terminator 2, the movie, when they showed you the future and you fighting all the Terminators, how things are just blowing up and going crazy, and I enjoyed it, you know what I'm saying? But once I was inside the level, you know, I'm not gonna give it away. Let me stop. I'm not gonna give it away. But inside the level, you know, it's not like I'm like, oh, I was just blown away by the visual thing that I was seeing. At the end of the day, it was the gameplay, you know, which is what games really should be counted against. And when developers say things like, oh, I'm having trouble porting the game to Xbox and stuff like that, or even a Blu-ray disc like Kojima did, it's just, you know, sometimes they gotta say things, or sometimes they getting a quote out there to get people all riled up or to like get interest in their game. Because I don't know about y'all, but Tekken 6 is kind of like, you know, what's Tekken 6 right now? People are on the Street Fighter craze. And Street Fighter came through and said, you know, all right, we're not gonna make the bestest game, but we know for the fans it's Street Fighter, let's get on it. So maybe the Tekken 6 guy was like, all right, I need something to steal the thunder, let me just spark some interest and say, boom. Like, at the end of the day, you know, games are games. People should play games, people should enjoy them, they should take it for art and stuff like that. But when they start getting nitpicky about graphics, I kind of like pause and say, are you sure you even know what you're talking about? Because at the end of the day, I keep saying that there's people behind it sitting at their desk working 30, 40 hour shifts straight trying to make something hot for you people. And for y'all to look at it and be like, oh, this is why this system sucks, or this is why this system's better, I really don't think there's any validity in that.